I'm going 120 miles an hour, take both hands off the wheel, relax, full throttle, not worried about now we're at 130. I wouldn't recommend this for anybody at home, but there's so much confidence Porsche builds in the car that it really gives you the feedback that you want. When I come off the corner, I'm full throttle sliding right now at 100 miles an hour.
We need to go over here at kind of maximum height.
On this shoot that we were just on, the driver was a great professional driver that we worked with a lot, and I asked him to, he just wanted the attitude of the car to just be slightly sliding, not a big oversteer, not a big deal, but we wanted that aggressive sliding shot from overhead. Well, first run, nothing happened. Second run, nothing happened. Every time building up the speed. And finally I said, well, you know, if we get into more of a rally style here and flick it into the corner and drive hard on the accelerator, you'll start to slide it. Here's a professional driver. I'm asking him to slide the car, and it's almost impossible to slide it. With the four-wheel drive, the width of the wheels and tires, the suspension setup, all of that is just making an incredible handling car, and you really have to work at it to push it beyond that limit.
You can't imagine the difference between the traditional sports car as exemplified by the English Jaguars, MGs, Triumphs, Austin Healey's, and Porsche. The quickest way to see the difference was to cross a railroad track. We would work until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning tuning our racing cars. We'd take the cars and go out and run them around the country roads at 3 in the morning just to, number one, see if they were running properly, number two, just for the hell of it. And you'd hit a railway crossing in an Austin Healey, a Triumph, an MG, and it would mean slamming on the brakes, slowing down, changing gear, and then creeping across the tracks. And with a Porsche, you didn't lift. You just went, boom.
This guy looked for a little mistake at a finished car, and he can change it. We only have a single person who can do it.
How long has he been doing this?
Oh, just a moment. Wie lange machen Sie das schon, wollen die wissen?
Ich?
Ja.
36 Jahre.
Ja. He has a special profession, but it's not for a long time. 36 years.
You know, some cars are only fun when you're going fast. And you go, look how fast I'm going. Porsche, you're going 30, but you're feeling things through the suspension, through the steering wheel, through the engine. You're being entertained at 30 miles an hour, as well as 130.
2 words, let's put it this way. One, sky-hooked, and the other would be ground-hooked. Now, if you develop a car with a philosophy that is sky-hooked, you always try to insulate the driver and the passenger from everything that's happening around you. We follow a different philosophy. We believe we should develop our cars in a way that I would describe as being ground-hooked. And ground-hooking actually would mean you're always in a position to perfectly understand and communicate with your car.
Now we will drive over the bumps to test the suspension and the stiffness of the body of the car.
If you're completely insulated from what happens around you, you get no feeling.
When a street 911 goes onto a racetrack, you can just beat that car all day long, abuse it, drive it around a racetrack at full speed, and then drive it home at night. And actually the car probably is thanking you for doing it, because that's what Porsches are all about, is performance.
At a place like the Daytona 24-hour, you see perfectly ordinary 911s, fleets of them out there just going like the hammers of hell, and going hour after hour after hour. And in the morning, when all kinds of exotic stuff has dropped out, there'll be 9 guys from Germany and another group of guys from the United States who are still sailing around the racetrack in their 911s.
Our big chief, Ferry Porsche, always said we must go to the races with sports cars, that the customer can see That's the same car I can buy.
There's so many similarities between the Super Cup car, which is a racing car, and a normal stock 911. First, you'll notice that the dashboard is very similar to the dashboard in a street 911. It's got all the gauges are the same. The suspension and the engine are the same in this car as in a production car. The transmission is a 6-speed transmission, and it's identical to the ones that we use on a street car.
A turbo need about 4.6 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. But on the brakes, 2.6 seconds from 100 to 0.
After winning Pikes Peak in 1994 in the open class, I really wanted to go in 1995 and race the new twin turbo. We basically put the roll cage in the car, put a fuel cell in the car, and showed up and raced the car totally stock, and went on to win Pikes Peak in 1995. I went with the same crew that I had before, and they were all asking me, what do we do now? Basically, we cleaned the car.
A lot of the technology that is developed for racing trickles down to the road car, and this is where the Varioram thing came from.
What Varioram does is it gives you increased torque and horsepower in the RPM range that we most often drive in. And you can stay in a higher gear. You can stay in 4th or 5th gear and lug it down to like 20 miles an hour and put your foot on the gas and pull smoothly away.
There's another thing that we got from racing. In the early days of the 911, we had, for instance, chromed windshield wipers. And our race drivers at Le Mans were complaining at night when it was raining that on these chromed windshield wipers, they got reflections from light. And I mean, if you go down the straight at Le Mans with something like 250 plus miles an hour, this is not really what helps you stay on the road. So the racing team at Le Mans one night decided to spray the windshield wipers with black. So when we started to paint our windshield wipers and a lot of the chrome black, it was actually not a fashion that we followed. It was maybe a fashion that we created, but there was a purpose behind it.
Back in the early days at Le Mans, they would line the cars up on one side of the track, and the drivers would be on the other side of the track. And the gun would go off, and the drivers would run across the track, jump into their cars, and take off. Well, Porsche decided that it would save a few tenths of a second if the ignition was on the left-hand side, so the guy could jump in his car, take his left hand, start it up, and with his right hand put the car into gear.
This bridge is a little bit more than 83 meters. If you go with a new turbo with 300 kilometers per hour on the Autobahn, you need 1 second from this wall to the wall on the other side. In 1 second.